So I'm on the BJJ Fanatics website, and I see 3 new videos by some guy named Thomas Radzinski. You familiar with that guy at all?
Nope, absolutely not.
No? Well, he's got some good stuff. Three brand new videos. They're getting amazing reviews, which is good to see as well. But you got to tell us about them real quick?
Yeah, I had, you guys already know, but I had opportunity to go to Boston, shoot 3 more instructionals, 1 on butterfly hook, complete guide for butterfly hook, 2 wrap, lapel, and submit them, and 3 we have taking the back. It's particularly designed for guys for over 40 because there's no climbing involved. All the back takes are on the ground. Very, very full and effective system. So dip into it. I'm really hoping that this is going to help your jiu-jitsu and really take it to the next level.
BJJfanatics.com. Just search ROZDZ. We have all had that situation where after class is when we want to ask a question. And Thomas, a lot of those questions you've already answered, right, at Ask a Black Belt.
Yeah, it's another podcast that I'm running. It's on podcast, all podcast platforms, plus on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Just search for my name. Search for Ask a Black Belt. At this point, over 100 episodes, different questions, jiu-jitsu, life-related, but something that everybody comes across, and often these questions sink in our mind, but we don't ask for whatever reason. So if that benefits you, go there, listen. It actually might help your jiu-jitsu, might help your life as well. And if you have any questions, find me on Instagram and drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer your question and mention your name during the episode.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
There you go. Yep. So
Another Dirty Dozen.
we're halfway there, man.
I know.
Dirty half dozen.
You halfway into 6. Yeah, I mean halfway into 12. Jesus, I can't even speak.
Math's not your strong suit.
No. Well, actually used to be, but then I guess I got old.
Sure.
Limit on that if you want. I'd listen. I'll take anything I can. But Rick Williams.
Yeah, cool dude.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
No, yeah. No, absolutely. Like
Living a cool life right now.
well, yeah. Talk about like the last 10 minutes of the episode.
I've had people drop some names. Yo, would drop these names, and he did it. He didn't drop the names. It was casual conversation because he was relating it to what we were talking about.
I know.
Listen to the episode.
If you have not listened and you want to hear about Rick Williams lifting weights with Kobe Bryant, just do it. Like you got to listen to it. We got no spoil. That's fine. Go and listen. Go and listen. I mean, it's cool. The last 10 minutes of the episode was really to the next. I feel like we should bring him back just to talk about
that.
The NBA stuff.
I wonder if he would. Because he seemed kind of embarrassed when I asked him about it. But
I don't think
cool.
so. I mean, there is an element of pride, I think, in a lot of it.
Yeah,
the guy has a lot of stories. Hanging out with LeBron and all the other guys. I mean, that's great, you know. But if we take it back to the jiu-jitsu world,
yeah, then he's dropping the names, the biggest
hanging out. Like there was a moment during that episode where he goes like, "Yeah, Royce and I, we just hung out. We were like brothers, you know." And I'm like,
in the morning,
and I'm like, what? No,
I mean, this dude was at the luncheons, the meetings when they were forming, the first UFC.
But that's later.
Right.
I'm talking about like
that much later. I mean, but from his
a few years, right? Yeah. I mean, but that few years is like the development. Jesus Christ!
Such
I
a
can't.
math
I'm foreign. You forget about this. There you go. Listen, I'll continue milking this until I'm 90. But that's the part of the life where we develop the most, as part of growing up, right? Like he literally in his teenage years, he hangs out with Royce Gracie. They are neighbors. Like it's part of it. It's part of it. Like part of life. Like, can you imagine? Like I don't know. What were you doing when you were 12 or 14? Like you were not hanging out with Royce Gracie. That's for sure.
No, I mean, as a teenager, I was just running around in the neighborhood.
Well,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Riding bikes or skateboards or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of skateboard, how's your foot?
My foot's fine. My ankle is a little beat up.
For those of you who don't know,
I'll show it to the camera.
Gary is changing his professions. He's quitting jiu-jitsu and he's going to be a professional skateboarder.
I think at 50, when you're coming close to the double nickels, 55, it's a good time to go out and buy a skateboard.
Is it?
The best time.
Is it?
Yep.
All right, you let me know how that works out because I still have a few years left to double nickels.
Yeah, sure. No, yeah. So, I fell. I wiped out. I did a break fall.
Tell that story because I love that.
All right, well, long story short, I used to ride a longboard. Right? I never had a regular sized deck where I was doing tricks or anything like that. I rode a longboard. I tooled around the neighborhood. And I didn't even start that until I was 30, close to 30. Had a skateboard as a little kid. But anyway, so if you're familiar with my longboard was huge, right? So when you're standing on it, you can have a very wide stance and your feet are still within the trucks. So I bought this cruiser and it's about the size of a regular deck. It's just the wheels and the trucks are bigger. But the deck size is pretty much standard. And so it takes some getting used to. So I got my front foot on and I'm still doing it. When I put my back foot on, it's on the tail. It's on the tail. So when you put your foot on and you put any pressure, it pushes the tail forward.
Yeah.
So I launched it out in front of me. And just went over, feet up in the air, came down on my butt, and tucked my chin and slapped the asphalt like I was doing a break fall.
Is this in a video somewhere?
I didn't even think of it. It is quite possibly on my ring video.
Oh,
quite possibly.
You have to pull it out.
I'll go back and look.
You have to pull it. We gotta post this.
Yes.
It has to.
What are we talking about? Rick, and what was he? Thirst for knowledge.
What did your lovely wife say? What did your lovely wife say?
She looked. Well, so her look always goes from like disgust when she sees me on it, like Jesus Christ.
Shout out to Margaret.
And in that moment, it went from disgust to shock. But I popped right up and I was laughing, trying it down the street to get the board. It initially just looked like a mat burn on my ankle, but it's really ugly and black now and gross. Not my ankle, just the area that got the road rash. The road rash. But the capper to the story is as I grabbed my skateboard and got back on, there was a little girl named Caitlin riding towards me, neighborhood kid. And I was like, "Did you see me wipe out?" And she's riding, and she said, "Yeah." I said, "Was it awesome?" She was like, "Yeah." So it was fun. It's fun. Hey, man, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst? Literally, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not gonna hit my head and die.
Hope not, because we need you around here.
If I come in and I got a cast on something, I can do 90% of.
Hold on. So this happened. This happened right before you took 2 days off for work, right?
It happened in between me being here and recording a seminar for you, and coming back to help with a kids event.
Yeah,
within that time frame. So,
Well, congratulations to a lot, and it was funny because everybody needs to hear this. And getting back to Rick, one of the cool things about I can't get the visual out of my head. You falling on the skateboard. I just can't get it out of my head. Anyway, what did you take away from Rick?
So Rick had a big thirst for knowledge, he said, and he proved it. And he did something that most people couldn't do, wouldn't have the forethought to do, and didn't know how much trouble he could get in while he was doing it. What he was doing, just because he wanted to learn jiu-jitsu, is in the mornings he was training for a couple hours with the Gracies, and in the evenings he was training for a couple hours with the Machados, and didn't know that he was doing anything wrong. Right? Back then, he was definitely doing something wrong, because you just didn't do that. You didn't go back and forth. You didn't train in different camps. But when it was found out, he just said, I just want to learn. I want to learn. And the way it was found out is kind of funny. Is he was going back to Royce in the morning and doing stuff, and Royce was like, "I didn't show you this. I didn't teach you this. Where are you going?" And he told him.
I mean, so, it was just this guy wanted to learn jujitsu, and it could be other people learning other things, but he wanted to learn jujitsu. So he went to the best people he could. And when he wasn't getting everything he wanted, he didn't just turn his back on somebody. He went and sought it out another place and then was just doing it all together. And I think that's just amazing for a 19, 20-year-old kid to be doing something like that.
Well, this is the interesting part about jiu-jitsu in my thought on my, in my mind is that different instructors will teach us different things. And we are going to learn different things from different environments.
Yeah, for sure.
And those who are smart, I do believe that they have the ability to, 1, reach out, 2, seek the knowledge, and 3, have open mind to cross-train wherever they find themselves, right? And this is a very generic statement that I'm making here, but oftentimes, unfortunately, still is happening. There are places where cross-training is not welcome, and seeking knowledge from other people is not welcome. And I think that's the shame part of the jiu-jitsu culture today. And I get it. We all part of different teams. We are part of different organizations, different academies. But I feel like, we got to let go a little bit of this quote unquote be trading part and not training with somebody else and not training at other places. I think there is a place for us where we can really reach out and seek the knowledge, no matter where we find ourselves. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've come far enough. Do you want it to be like, the McDojos where it's we have to keep it a secret? I can't show you any of this stuff because it's deadly, and I don't want anybody,
Deadly.
Do you want it to be such a closed group? I can sympathize why 30 years ago it was done. I get it. It was this burgeoning thing. It was people were trying to build something. I get why somebody might be upset if, student Tommy is training with you for a couple of years and then he goes to the new place down the street, or he switches, because he wants to do strictly no gi, so he goes to 10th Planet or whatever. I can get why that would upset you, or upset an instructor. But, you got to just let people explore and learn. Why would you want to stop anybody from learning? Would they come back to you with something to offer?
We talked about this before. This often comes from insecurities, right?
Yeah,
this often comes from the fact that some leaders or instructors are not willing to take the risk and believe that the students will stay with them when they go and train somewhere else. I don't know. I have a hard time with this.
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
you know,
there's a big difference between training somewhere else and cross-training or seeking knowledge. I think there's a big difference,
Mhm.
you know, and if you're really in a competitive environment where belonging to a specific team is important, maybe those rules could be applicable. I don't know. Maybe they could be.
Well, and
Maybe we are missing some things here. Okay, and that's fine. But if we talk about in very generic and general statements or very general situations, if you Joe Schmo who has a professional career and is not jiu-jitsu and you do jiu-jitsu as a hobby, why in the world would anybody stop you from going training and, you know, or watching seminar or going to a seminar or taking a private with another instructor? That part I have a hard time wrapping my mind around.
Yeah, I think if you're on let's say a competition team, that's different, right? Because you're on a team that is trying to achieve a
specific results.
Yeah,
yes.
but I always think of Armin Fati, who was like, "Hey, Eddie Bravo, and hey, Henner, I want to train at both places because I just want to, I'm not going back and forth telling secrets. I'm not, and I really, Jesus, at this time, everything's accessible everywhere. Nobody's, like.
I think that's what annoys me the most about this. Now, I don't want to turn this into a bitching session, but like literally, everybody's online. Yeah. Everybody is on video everywhere. Yeah. What is the difference them watching the video versus going to a seminar? Right. Go to a seminar and bring it back. Yeah. Teach somebody else.
Sure. And if you've got the money, go to two different memberships. Go to two different places.
You know what? That's not uncommon. That's not unusual these days. Like
Right.
there's a lot of students who take advantage of it. And by the way, shout out, I'm going to pivot this, but shout out to Armin, who was just, I think he was, I don't know, in Ireland, I think. I remember he trained with McGregor, and then
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
saw that.
and
That's
then
right.
and then he took up, whatever, private lessons with Jean-Jacques Machado, and like I was messaging with him. Shout out to Armin. Armin, if you're listening to it, hope you're well. But listen, what a phenomenal guy. See, I love it. I love that guy. Like he will go take seminar with anybody. He will go take a private with anybody. There is no ego, and then he goes back and he teaches at his own academy.
Mhm.
And like this is how we grow. So good for you, Armin, if you listen to it.
Yeah, I think I wish more people had that attitude of I'm just here to learn. Why can't they go something? If you're whatever, name a subject. Are you only going to read one book on it? No. I mean, if you really want to learn about it, you're going to seek multiple sources and different. We talk about different flavors of instructors all the time. Why do you have to be locked in someplace? One small room with one style with one instructor. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Jiu-Jitsu is evolving, and I think this is slowly changing. I think we're on the path to a better Jiu-Jitsu as far as the growth is concerned, and I think in 10 years this conversation will look very, very differently when our kids are teaching classes and we are just watching them. Yes, you will be screaming from the sidelines.
Nah. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think this will be a non-issue.
The question is this: will your kids get black belts before you?
Nah, we all pretty much train the same way. Only if I die.
Well,
So
I'll see you on the mat later
right.
today.
You will. And I
Right.
could, maybe I'll die on that skateboard.
Oh, there's so many unknowns.
See ya.
All right, later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.